They sold you the dream, and you bought it, willingly, gratefully, blindly. Follow your passion, chase success, be your best self. And while you were chasing clouds, they built the world beneath your feet, without you. You thought dreaming made you free, but what if it made you obedient? You became the perfect product, always reaching, never arriving. Dreams used to be sacred. Now they're subscriptions, advertisements, buzzwords. They don't liberate you. They keep you tired, insecure, and buying. You're not dreaming anymore. You're consuming a dream someone packaged for you. But maybe the problem isn't that you dream. It's what you've been told to dream of. So let's rewind. Before the algorithm, before the noise, back to when dreams were raw, painful, beautiful, and necessary. Let's go back to the only kind of dream that ever mattered, the one that kept you alive. Before it became a product, a performance, a Pinterest board, dreaming was survival. It wasn't something you posted, it was something that kept you from collapsing. For the poor, dreaming was never a lifestyle. It wasn't vision boards or manifestation journals. It was a flicker of light in the dark, a fragile hope that maybe tomorrow wouldn't be worse than today. Poor people often have only one dream, that their children may someday be free to dream. That's not ambition, that's legacy, the kind built in silence, the kind that hopes with calloused hands and empty pockets. Real dreams weren't glamorous, they didn't sparkle, they burned, they didn't trend, they threatened. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, wrote Nietzsche. And those who dreamed with a real why shook the world. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't dreaming of going viral. He dissected corpses at night to understand how we worked, to see the divine in the mechanical. Mandela didn't dream of freedom because it was cute. He dreamed it through concrete walls, with broken knuckles and a 27-year sentence. Magellan crossed oceans not to post sunsets, but because he believed there was something beyond the edge of every map, and he risked everything to prove it. These people didn't dream to escape discomfort, they dreamed through it, inside it, because the alternative was death, physical or spiritual. That kind of dream doesn't fit in a caption. It doesn't sell, and that's precisely why it matters. But something shifted. Dreams got polished, sanitized, monetized. They stopped being dangerous and started being brandable. The algorithm now feeds you dreams that look like freedom but function like prisons. Dreams made of six-figure incomes, glowing skin, and passive income funnels. We used to dream to escape the system. Now we dream exactly what the system wants us to. The wild has been tamed, the dream declawed. So before we move forward, ask yourself this. When was the last time you dreamed something that made you tremble? That made no sense on a spreadsheet, but all the sense in your soul. If you can't remember, then maybe your dream isn't dead. Maybe it's just been buried under 10 layers of branding. But here's the twist. What happens when dreaming isn't just a memory, but an obligation? What if you're not dreaming because you want to, but because you're terrified of what's left if you stop? That's where we're going next. There was a time when dreaming was a spark. Now it's a task. What's your vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How are you turning your passion into a business model? In a world obsessed with productivity, even your dreams have to perform. You can't just want something. It has to scale. It has to impress. You don't dream to feel alive anymore. You dream to be legible, monetizable, fundable. God forbid your dream is simple, silent, unmarketable. That won't get engagement. That won't get you out of bed at 5 a.m. to write a gratitude list. That won't go viral. So we all start dreaming the same thing. Freedom, impact, six-figure piece, laptop on the beach aesthetics. Not because we truly want it, but because we're afraid of being irrelevant. Sartre once said, "Man is condemned to be free." Today, man is condemned to build a brand out of his dreams or be forgotten. We used to follow the dream. Now we pitch it, optimize it, monetize it, until it stops being a dream and starts looking like a LinkedIn post. Something rehearsed, filtered, packaged for public consumption. Something that proves you're doing life correctly, even if you're dying inside. And the worst part? You might not even notice it happening. You might spend years chasing this perfect, polished dream without ever asking if it was truly yours. Maybe the pressure you feel isn't because you're lazy or lost or undisciplined. Maybe it's because the dream you're trying to live was never built for a real, flawed, fragile human like you. Maybe it was built for your persona, the character you play online. So here's a dangerous thought. What if the bravest thing you could do is stop dreaming for a while? Not to give up, but to pause, to clear the noise, to remember what your voice sounds like when no one's watching. Because if dreaming has become a duty, then stopping might be your first act of rebellion. But the silence that follows, that terrifying quiet, it's not empty. It's full of questions, and some of them are sharp. And maybe the first one is this: what if the dream was never really free? They told you to dream because you could be anything. What they didn't tell you is that anything quickly becomes everything. Too many paths, too many lives, too many versions of success, and none of them feel like home. We used to dream because we lacked options. Now we dream because we're drowning in them. And in that flood of choice, the dream loses shape. It becomes fog, seductive, endless, and impossible to hold. When a man has many choices, he has none, wrote Kierkegaard long before Spotify and infinite scroll. We swipe through dream scenarios like dating profiles, briefly exciting, then deeply exhausting. One day it's writing a novel, the next it's launching a startup, the next it's moving to Portugal and living off-grid. But none of it sticks, not because you're weak, but because the dream wasn't rooted. It wasn't born from the gut, it was built for the feed. This is how dreaming becomes quiet agony, not because you're lost, but because you're succeeding at someone else's fantasy. You check every box, hit every milestone, and feel nothing. Because deep down, you know, it wasn't yours. It was algorithm-approved ambition, consensus desire, something that looked enough like freedom to fool you. So what now? Do you burn it all down? Maybe. Or maybe you do something harder. You sit in the fog without trying to escape. You stop asking, what's next? And start asking, who's the one dreaming in me? Because until you name that voice, every dream will feel like a performance. And some of us are tired of pretending. Maybe what you need isn't a bigger dream, but a place quiet enough to hear the real one, even if it whispers, especially if it whispers. Let's say the dream is dead. Not dramatically. No explosion. No collapse. Just gone. Like smoke that drifted too far and dissolved. The version of success you clung to, the identity you tried to manifest, the story you rehearsed in your head for years, it no longer fits. And that emptiness you feel, that's not failure. That's the space left behind when a false dream finally lets go. What comes next is not another performance. It's the chance to ask a different question, not what's the next big dream, but what dream could I live quietly, without applause, without proof, without permission? Maybe the real dream is smaller than you thought, not lesser, just quieter. Maybe it doesn't come with branding potential. Maybe it's walking at sunrise, writing one honest paragraph, laughing with someone who truly sees you. Maybe it's not a dream for the world at all. Maybe it's just for you. We were raised to believe that the bigger the dream, the more meaningful it is. But that's the logic of capitalism, not of the soul. You don't have to scale your longing. You don't have to pitch your purpose. Sometimes the dream is simply to be here, with both feet on the ground and nothing to prove. Remember what Nietzsche said. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But the why doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be legacy. It can be a garden, a dog, a child's hand in yours. The sacred isn't always loud. In fact, it rarely is. So burn the old blueprint, the one built for likes and metrics. Let the empire in your head fall. Let it collapse inwards like a star that's outlived its light. And then sit still. Let the silence settle like dust. You don't need to rush back into dreaming. Let the noise pass. Wait for something faint, fragile, and ferociously true to emerge. It won't shout. It will whisper. It won't perform. It will stay. That's the real dream, not the one that makes you visible, but the one that finally makes you whole. Let's be honest. We were a little harsh, a little sarcastic, a little too old soul shaking his head at the world. But someone had to say it, not to kill the dream, but to set it free. Because no, dreaming isn't the problem, but dreaming endlessly, blindly, like a hamster on a spiritual treadmill, maybe is. The truth is, some dreams save you, others sell you, and most of us are just trying to tell the difference. The real courage today isn't dreaming big, it's dreaming right. Choosing a dream you can touch, hold, live. One that nourishes, not drains. One that belongs to you. So if this whispered something true, share it with someone you trust. Subscribe if you feel like it. And above all, live a dream you never have to post.